If you're watching this right now and you haven't hit the like button, Billy, get on it. Bug your brother. Tell him to do the same. I wanted to hop on here because you have a theory. Now, before we get into this, yes, this is a little bit of a conspiracy theory because we don't know what's wrong with Alek. He finished third in Cy Young voting just in October and is now literally, numbers-wise, he's the worst pitcher in baseball with the amount of starts that he has. And something is seriously wrong with the kid.
So, this morning I was watching David Samson's podcast, Nothing Personal, friend of the show.
Hi, I'm David Samson from Nothing Personal with David Samson. You are watching The Walk-Off with Scott and Adam.
He ends his show with about a 5-ish minute segment on this Alek Manoah outing.
Alek Manoah's not hurt. He just stinks. If you're trying to get your player to work on something, here's a word of advice. You don't leave him out there to get embarrassed by giving up 11 runs in 2 2/3 innings. If you see that he's having a bad inning, pull him, work on it on the side without the cameras. Then you can be proactive and say, our plan was to get 1 inning of work, and he did exactly what we wanted him to do. He'll be out again in 5 days. You have to make it seem like you're protecting your player. You have to. Instead, they hung him out to dry. And a little quote from John Schneider after the fact saying, hey, everything was perfect. They were sending a message. There's something else going on there. Because the only reason you leave him out to give up 11 runs in 2 2/3 innings is if you're pissed off.
You don't run him out for 3 innings to get embarrassed unless you're sending a message. That makes sense to me. So who is the message aimed at? It has to be aimed at Alek Manoah, right? You're not sending a message to the fan base by embarrassing him. You're not sending a message to trade partners that, hey, we're fucked, right? So you're sending it to Alek Manoah. Why? This is where the conspiracy theory, for me, takes off, okay?
Now, before you get into that, I do wish to reiterate a few things that you just brought up. Number one, I think the idea of a message being sent makes a lot of sense here for a few reasons. And I love the way David Samson broke this down, because if you look at his line, they could have pulled him after 2 innings. He'd given up 5 earned runs at that point. So sending him back out in the 3rd, unless, like you said, you're trying to send a message, it truly makes no sense, especially in his first game out of the lab.
Where you know, right? All eyes are going to be on Twitter.
All
eyes are going to be all over the place. How did he do? How did he do?
He would have got torn apart with the 5 earned runs over 2 innings. So sticking him back out there is truly an odd thing to do. And I do want to also bring up the fact that we have had Robert DiBernardo on our show twice. He is the head of the mental performance department, a very, very prevalent area the Blue Jays focus on is the mental performance department. This is a very important department that has grown in size year after year. The Blue Jays know all about the mental side of the game, and Adam and I can attest to, and all you got to do is watch the episodes with Robert DiBernardo. He's brilliant. He's literally basically a psychologist. He knows all the ins and outs of the human brain, how fragile confidence can be. And so this is where this conspiracy comes into play, because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, the Blue Jays knew or had to know what they were doing. There's no way you can convince me they're a bunch of bumbling idiots. And maybe they are. And if that's the case, that is a much bigger problem.
Yes.
I'll throw back to you here, Adam.
All right. I want to draw attention to this Scott Mitchell tweet. Friend of the show, Scotty Mitchell, TSN. Tweeted out yesterday. Talked to a couple people who had eyes on Alek Manoah's Florida Complex League outing today. And there's not much positive to report. that would say, well, ignore that ugly line. It wasn't great. We may still be at ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
So the message coming out of that outing, not good. It's as bad as it looks. Is basically, there was not much protection of Alek Manoah. Not much good to say. So why? Why, if we're operating under that understanding that this was to send a message. Okay, so let's just start here with an asterisk. First asterisk of many. Speculation that this was intentional to send a message to Manoah. Why are we sending the message? Well, we know Alek Manoah has confidence off the charts, right? He's world famous for his trash talking. Being
Fiery.
on Serge Ibaka's show, throwing darts at Garrett Cole. It's part of why we love Alek Manoah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that fiery confidence. But it's a fine line between confidence and arrogance.
That is such a huge statement. Fine line between confidence and arrogance. And arrogance is shit, man. Arrogance gets you into trouble. Arrogance is going to be detrimental to a team. Arrogance is going to get you into situations that you put yourself there because you refuse to listen to others.
Confidence gets you out of a jam. Arrogance, well, ask Madison Bumgarner what arrogance gets you. But we don't have to spend, we don't need this to turn into a Madison Bumgarner video. You shared a picture today that you found on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It was a side-by-side, and if I have the technical skills, I will try to pull this up so everybody can see what I'm talking about now. But a side-by-side comparison, Alek Manoah 2021 versus Alek Manoah 2023. I think it's a shot from spring training. He doesn't have a jersey on. He's in a tank top.
It is a shot from spring training, and what has happened, or there are rumors that have come out. Listen, again, we cannot emphasize enough speculation. We don't know anything, okay? But there were rumors that have come out in the last couple days that Alek Manoah came into training camp in early March, weighing in at 320 pounds.
That's what arrogance
gets
you.
Say to that.
That's complacency. That's complacency born out of arrogance. I just finished third in Cy Young voting. I'm the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Okay. Again,
maybe.
Asterisk. We don't know. We're just trying to understand why, right? We're talking it out. So feel free to light us up in the comments. I'm a fat boy myself. Who am I to criticize someone else for being out of shape? Yes, Alek Manoah is still twice, 3 times, 1,000 times the athlete that I could ever dream to be. But if Manoah,
but we're not comparing Alek Manoah to us, okay? This is the thing, right? Like, I know that when it comes to conditioning, it's a fine line between being a shithead and making an actual point.
I was just having this conversation with my daughter the other day. There is a big difference between, like, being big and being fit. Like, a lot of big people are very fit, and a lot of small people are very unhealthy.
Right here.
We got both ends of the spectrum on the screen right now. All right. So, again, if Alek Manoah is 300 pounds, maybe that's a sign that you can call it his work ethic has slipped. You could say he's maybe become complacent. You could say the confidence has bubbled over into arrogance, whatever. We're not here to define why he's so big. But if the goal of sending him to Florida, to the Florida Complex League, as opposed to just a demotion to AAA to work on things, was to, like, knock him down a peg, give him a reality check, like, hey, you are so far from where we need you to be, right? And maybe, again, speculation, I have no reason to believe this is true, but maybe he has not taken the demotion well.
That is such a good point. We have heard absolutely nothing from this Blue Jays organization when it comes to what Alek Manoah is doing and how he has taken this demotion. And that's fair. Keep it quiet. But what if there's been pushback from him? And I think that's where this conspiracy theory is going. What if Alek Manoah was sent down and hasn't put his nose to the grindstone like this organization was hoping this demotion would motivate him?
So I'm wondering, maybe behind closed doors, at the complex, in the meeting rooms, at the gym, in the batting cages, maybe, and this isn't a quote, this is speculation, but maybe he's like, fuck this, I'm better than this. This is some bullshit right here. Right?
Even if it's not to that extent. Even if it's not to that extent, right? Even if it's just he hasn't bought in like they wanted him to
hasn't bought in. Thank you. That's it, right? Like he hasn't necessarily been like, wow, holy fuck, I am a potential, I have Hall of Fame talent. This is a real dose of reality that I need to do. Like, I need to make it work, right? Maybe any resistance is going to be a big red flag for everyone in that complex who's trying to help him, right? They're not looking for pushback at all.
Especially considering the amount of rope they gave him before demoting him. Let's be serious. They gave him every single opportunity available to get right in the majors.
So here's where my conspiracy theory kicks into high gear. His first outing, if the last 4 weeks have not been a total buy-in from Alek Manoah, and he has been resistant and pushing back, maybe,
which he might not be.
Which he might not be. Sure. But to put him out there, he got blown up in the second inning. Put him back out there for the third inning. Blown up some more. We're sending a message. Why are we sending it? Just the only thing that makes sense to me is that he's not buying in, and this is they
need him to hit bottom.
They need him to hit bottom. They need him to undeniably recognize that he's at bottom. He's at rock bottom. And if he has any ounce of confidence left, maybe they need to absolutely squeeze that out of him, right? They need to set the bridge on fire and rebuild it from scratch. So, conspiracy time.
It reminds me of the scene from Bull Durham when Kevin Costner is trying to get the young rookie pitcher to do what he's saying, and he refuses. And then he goes in with this rookie on the mound, and he literally tells the batter what's coming. Right? And so guy hammers it.
So this is my conspiracy theory. This is where maybe you've been watching for 13 minutes, and you're like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. I might lose half of you right here, okay? It's the Bull Durham approach. It's the message comes from up high to the catcher, hey, we're going to tip every one of Manoah's pitches. Because if he's not buying in, right? If he is giving resistance in the meeting rooms and at the gym, saying, I'm better than this, I don't need this, I just got to work on a couple things. And they're saying, no, you need a mega overhaul in XYZ. If he goes out and he pitches 3 shutout innings, 9 up, 9 down, 9 strikeouts, well, that's not going to be very conducive to him listening better in the meeting room tomorrow, right? Maybe they did that. Maybe they went to the catcher and they said, hey, we're going to tip every pitch. Hey, fastball high, slider away. Here's what's coming. And then Alek Manoah, even if he feels good, is getting ripped around, right? Because then if, again, big asterisk, pure speculation here, but if he's being pissy in those backroom meetings and is giving them the old F you, I'm better than this, I have Cy Young stuff, well, then after yesterday's outing, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier for everyone in that meeting room to look at him and fire back with your Cy Young stuff just got lit up by 18-year-olds. So sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, and get to fucking work. Like,
even if the conspiracy doesn't run to that extent where they're actually tipping Manoah's pitches, which I would be very doubtful of that. But I do like the idea that this was an opportunity, a window opened for management here with Manoah struggling in those first 2 innings. And again, I cannot emphasize enough how much this Blue Jays organization invests in mental health and knows about the mental side of the game. There is no way with a guy who has his confidence shaken as badly as Alek Manoah that you send him, and David Samson brought this up, there's no way you send him back out if you're just trying to build on a few good little things. Yeah. You even look at Alek Manoah's line. He didn't give up any runs in that first inning. Yeah, he allowed a single. He got out of it. The second inning, he gave up 5 runs, and that hurt. It would have been the perfect spot to remove him because it even shook his confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
So to put him back out in the third, and again, we don't know anything. This could be grasping at straws to try and figure out what happened to our ace Cy Young candidate from 2022. And I know that that's part of it, but I just don't think that there's any way that this was done accidentally.
I mean, this isn't a perfect analogy here, but I'm going to bring up the Patrick Waugh shelling in Montreal 20 some odd years ago, almost 30 years ago now. Just absolutely humiliated in net. He was not having a good game. They left him out there for
all of them.
All of them. And he's just like, look, I could pull me. And they're like, no, we're going to leave you in. Immediately demands a trade the next day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's like, fuck you guys. I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah.
Basically, right? I'm oversimplifying what happened, but you've got to protect your stars. These are fragile egos, as confident as they might be. You've got to protect them. And this is not protecting Alek Manoah. We can at least agree on this. They did not protect Alek Manoah by sending him out there for a third inning. So if that's an intentional move,
an organizational flaw or strategy, it's one of those two things. And with what we know about the importance that this organization puts on the mental performance of their investments, and that's what Alek Manoah is to this team. It's a big investment, especially when you look at the amount of money that they're paying Barrios and Gausman. They need these kids on minimum.
I have to believe this is an intentional plan, because the alternative is gross negligence, borderline incompetence. And maybe that's the case. Maybe this is just a pure...
And we knew, Adam, like you and I both, the second that Manoah was sent down, our episode was called All the Way Down. And we both very strongly thought there was no way that we see Alek Manoah until September. We don't see him at least until late August, and it's looking more and more like that's the case. Who knows if we see him this season at all? But we knew that this was going to be a mega overhaul. And so I think that it does stem to reason that if you didn't have Manoah 100% buying in, and I don't even think that Manoah was maybe being a problem outside of they'd be like, hey, do this. And he'd be like, well, I've done it this way. Like, you know, they just wanted the resistance to stop. And so maybe if there's any sort of silver lining here, maybe Alek Manoah hit bottom. Maybe they can actually start the full overhaul, buy-in rebuild they need from this finishing third in the Cy Youngs in 2022 pitcher.
I don't know much about breaking in a horse. Breaking a horse? Breaking in a horse? I don't even know the right term for it. What I know about breaking a horse comes from about 5.5 seasons of Yellowstone. Okay. But what I do know is that when you catch a wild horse, you got to break its will.
Mm-hmm.
You got to break it before it will listen to you and be that good workhorse. This is a terrible analogy. Anyways, Alek Manoah, if he's giving resistance, that's what it feels like this was. We can go as high, as deep as you want with the Bull Durham aspect of was the catcher tipping pitches to intentionally make his numbers even worse. I don't know. It's kind of as sketchy as it is. Kind of fun to speculate. Who knows? Wild conspiracy.
It is fun to speculate. And honestly, the dream is Manoah has hit bottom and he is ready to completely rebuild himself. And this organization desperately needs that because, my God, if we just lost our ace to bad juju, a mental breakdown, and a lack of preparedness for a season, that sucks.
I'll tell you what, for sure, the talk around Twitter, around Sportsnet, around the people who know a lot more than us, was that he might be back on the other side of the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that conversation has had a major shift. And there's no way Alek Manoah isn't aware of that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's sitting in his apartment in Florida and he's saying, yeah, I'm the shit and I'll be back soon, maybe this is just a message that, hey, no, you won't. You're a long ways away.
In front of you, kid. Yeah. We'll leave it there, but Alek Manoah is the big Rubik's Cube of the year. We'll see what goes from here. Hopefully this outing yesterday was a little bit more of a game plan on the side of the organization than it was a huge screw up that has just completely shattered this kid's confidence even more.
There you go. All right, we'll
leave
see
your
Friday.
Comments. Let us know if we're completely out to lunch here or if you are on board with maybe this is a conspiracy theory worth thinking about. All right, everybody. We'll see you Friday. Thanks so much for the views and the clicks. Hit that like button. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.
Cheers.